Hello and welcome back to your second reading of the week. Today is Tuesday, and we were right in the middle of the chapter talking about the great plan. Sophie was coming up with a plan of how she was going to go to the queen, and she and the BFG were going to convince the queen that she needs to stop the giants from eating all the children. So yesterday where we left off is that Sophie was telling the giant that she wanted him to mix a certain dream together so that they could take it to the queen and put it in her brain while she sleeps. So here we go. I has dreams about bathtubs, lots of them. I have dreams about silver wings. I has dreams about flying. So all I has to do is mix those dreams together in the proper way, and I is very quickly making a dream where you is flying in a bathtub with silver wings. I see what you mean, Sophie said, but I didn't know you could mix one dream with another. Dreams like being mixed, the BFG answered. They's getting very lonesome all by themselves in those glassy bottles. Right, Sophie said. Now then, do you have dreams about the Queen of England? Lots of them, the BFG said. What about giants? Of course, the BFG said. And what about giants eating people? Swiggles of them, the BFG said. And what about little girls like me? That is commonest of all, the BFG said. I has bottles and bottles of dreams about little girls, and you could mix them up just as I want you to? Sophie asked, getting more and more excited. Of course, the BFG said. But how is this helping us? I think you is barking up the wrong dog. Now hold on, Sophie said. Listen carefully. I want you to mix a dream, which you will blow into the Queen of England's bedroom where she is asleep. And this is how it will go. Now hang on a minute, the BFG said. How is I possibly going to get near enough to the Queen of England's bedroom to blow into my dream? You was talking dumb silly. I'll tell you that later, Sophie said. For the moment, please listen carefully. Here's the dream I want you to mix. Are you paying attention? Very close, the BFG said. I want the queen to dream that 9 disgusting giants, each one about 50 feet tall, are galloping to England in the night. She must dream their names as well. What are their names again? Flesh Lump Eater, the BFG said. Man Hugger, Bone Cruncher, Child Chewer, Meat Dripper, Gizzard Gulper, Maid Masher, Blood Bottler, and the Butcher Boy. Let her dream all those names, Sophie said, and let her dream that they will be creeping into England in the depths of the witching hour and snatching little boys and girls from their beds. Let her dream that they will be reaching into the bedroom windows and pulling the little boys and girls out of their beds. And then, Sophie paused. Do they eat them on the spot or do they carry them away first? She asked. They's usually just popping them straight into their mouths like popcorn, the BFG said. Put that in the dream, Sophie said. And then, the dream must say that when their tummies are full, they will go galloping back to the giant country where no one can find them. Is that all? The BFG said. Certainly not, Sophie said. You must then explain to the queen in her dream that there's a big friendly giant who can tell her where all those beasts are living so they can send her soldiers and her armies to capture them once and for all. And let her dream one last very important thing. Let her dream that there's a little girl called Sophie sitting on her windowsill who will tell her where the big friendly giant is hiding. Where is he hiding? Asked the BFG. We'll come to that later, Sophie said. So the queen dreams her dream, right? Right, the BFG said. Then she wakes up and the first thing she thinks is, oh, what a horrid dream. I'm so glad it was only a dream. And then she looks up from her pillow and what does she see? What does she see? The BFG asked. She sees a little girl called Sophie sitting on her windowsill, right there in real life before her very eyes. How is you going to be sitting on the queen's windowsill, may I beg? The BFG said. You are going to put me there, Sophie answered. And that's the lovely part about it. If someone dreams that there is a little girl sitting on her windowsill, and then she wakes up and sees that the little girl really is sitting there, that is a dream come true, is it not? I was beginning to see where you is driving to, the BFG said. If the queen is knowing that part of her dream is true, when, perhaps, she is believing the rest of it is true as well. That's about it, Sophie said. But I shall have to convince her of that myself. You said you was wanting the dream to say there is a big friendly giant who is also going to talk to the queen? Absolutely, Sophie said. You must. You're the only one who can tell her where to find the other giants. How was I meeting the queen? Asked the BFG. I is not wanting to be shooted by the soldiers. The soldiers are only in the front of the palace, Sophie said. At the back there is a huge garden and there are no soldiers in there. There is a very high wall with spikes on it around and the garden to stop people climbing in. But you could simply walk over them. How is you knowing all about this queen's palace? The BFG asked. Last year I was in a different orphanage, Sophie said. It was in London and we used to go for walks all around. Is you helping me to find the palace? The BFG asked. I has never dared to go inside and sneaking around London in my life. I'll show you the way, Sophie said confidently. I is frightened of London, the BFG said. Don't be, Sophie said. It's full of tiny dark streets, and there are very few people about in the witching hour. The BFG picked Sophie up between one finger and a thumb and placed her gently in the palm of the other hand. Is the Queen's palace very big? He asked. Huge, Sophie said. Then how is we finding the right bedroom? That's up to you, Sophie said. You're supposed to be an expert at that sort of thing. And you is absolutely sure the Queen will not put me in the zoo with all the caterpillars? Caterpillars? Of course she won't, Sophie said. You'll be a hero, and you'll never have to eat snozzcumbers again. Sophie saw the BFG's eyes widen. He licked his lips. You mean it? He said. You really mean it? No more disgustive snozzcumbers? You couldn't get one if you wanted to, Sophie said. Humans don't grow them. That did it. The BFG got to his feet. When is you wanting me to mix a special dream? He asked. Now, Sophie said. At once. When is we going to see the Queen? He said. Tonight, Sophie said. As soon as you've mixed the dream. Tonight? The BFG cried. Why such a flesh-bunkling flurry? If we can't save tonight's children, we can anyway save tomorrow's, Sophie said. What is more, I'm getting famished. I haven't had a thing to eat for 24 hours. Then we had better get crackling, the BFG said, moving back toward the cave. Sophie kissed him on the tip of his thumb. I knew you'd do it, she said. Come on, let's hurry. That is where we are going to stop for today. So I will see you here tomorrow.